The movie begins with a gripping scene. We see a young man named Romain visiting a dealer to buy chemical substances for a party. After all, it's his birthday, and he's planned a big celebration. After getting what he needs, Romain hops into his father's luxury car. As he drives, he lights a cigarette but carelessly tosses it inside the car. Panic strikes him instantly. What has he done? He quickly pulls over, rushing to retrieve the cigarette before it causes any damage. But just then, out of nowhere, a girl dashes toward his car and crashes into it. She looks disoriented, her head wrapped in bandages. Without hesitation, she jumps into the passenger seat, trembling with fear. Her clothes are tattered, and she appears as if she has escaped from a lab or hospital. But what's even more unsettling is her behavior. She seems terrified, her body language erratic. Romain, still trying to process what just happened, asks, "Are you okay? What happened?" But the girl doesn't answer. She just sobs uncontrollably. Concerned, he pulls out his phone to call for help. But the moment she hears the word police, her fear intensifies. Realizing she's more scared of the authorities than whatever she's running from, Romain hesitates and decides to help her himself. The only problem? He has no idea where to take her. As he drives, he keeps trying to talk to her, but she remains silent. Then, suddenly she pulls out a recorder. A chilling voice plays from the device. It's a group of commandos discussing an experiment. The subject, C-39, has escaped. She is 25 years old. At that moment, the girl turns to Romain, her eyes filled with desperation, trying to tell him, "They're talking about me." She's not just any girl, she's part of some experiment. But before Romain can make sense of it, she starts behaving erratically. She bangs her head against the car window, muttering strange symbols. Then, she pulls out a knife and begins slashing at herself. Romain panics and tries to stop her, but she's out of control. In a terrifying moment, she lunges at him, smearing her blood on his face before collapsing onto the seat, lifeless. Romain freezes, his heart pounding. What just happened? It's his birthday, and now there's a dead body in his car. What is he supposed to do? He tries shaking her, but she doesn't move. Fear grips him. He knows he needs to get out of sight. Carefully, he drives back home, sneaking the car into his garage. Still covered in blood, his mind races. His father's car is stained, and there's a corpse in it. He takes a deep breath and rushes to take a shower, cursing himself. If only I hadn't stopped, none of this would have happened. Then his phone rings. It's his dad. "The car is fine, right?" his father asks, revealing just how much he values his prized vehicle. Romain gulps, forcing his voice to sound normal. Yeah, everything's fine," he lies, then quickly ends the call. Taking a deep breath, he heads back to the garage. But what he sees next sends shivers down his spine. The girl, she's gone. She was supposed to be dead. How could she have just disappeared? Was she even human? Before Romain can process this nightmare, there's a knock at the door. He rushes to check. It's his friend, Anna. She'd come to celebrate his birthday, hoping to spend time with him, but Romain is still shaken. Anna notices something is off. "What's wrong with you?" she asks, suspicious of his strange behavior. Romain brushes it off, trying to act normal. But deep down, he knows something terrifying is happening. And it's only the beginning. Meanwhile, Romain's friends arrive to take him to the party, but he quickly sent Anna with them, pretending to be unwell. As soon as they left, he rushed inside, desperately checking the CCTV footage to find the girl, but she was nowhere to be seen. Stepping outside, he realized his friends were still nearby. Not wanting to raise suspicion, he decided to go with them. But even at the party, his mind was elsewhere, lost in the mystery of the girl. Nothing felt right. Anna noticed his strange behavior, growing more concerned. His other friends tried to check on him, but he ignored them, isolating himself in a room. Meanwhile, Anna went to the washroom with a friend named Julia. When she left, Romain approached Julia instead, deceiving Anna. But then, something horrifying happened. Julia saw his reflection and froze in fear. His eyes were glowing. Realizing something was terribly wrong, she tried to warn him, but Romain turned to the mirror and finally saw it himself. His eyes shone unnaturally, and suddenly, his body started reacting in disturbing ways. His neck jerked violently, as if something inside him was shifting. Just then, his phone rang. His father had seen movement in the house through the security cameras and asked him to check. Unease settled over Romain. Something was very, very wrong. As he rushed out of the party, his friends tried to stop him, dragging him onto the dance floor. But the frustration building inside him exploded. He lashed out, attacking one of them. When Anna intervened, he turned on her too. Realizing he was losing control, he grabbed a bicycle and raced home. As soon as he arrived, he turned off the alarm. His phone rang again. His father asked if anything had been stolen, but before Romain could answer, his father started laughing. The laugh wasn't normal. It was slow, eerie, and unsettling. Shaken, Romain hung up and stepped inside. The house felt off. Then, he noticed something. The recorder the girl had been carrying was still playing, repeating details about the experiment. That's when he saw the bloodstains. They led toward the bathroom. Following the trail, he opened the door, and there she was. The girl was sitting in the bathtub, stabbing herself with a knife. A wave of horror crashed over Romain. He lunged forward, snatching the knife and throwing it away. But before he could react further, she pulled out a strange device. Confused, he stared at it until movement outside the window caught his attention. The commandos had arrived. They had come for her. But then, they realized someone else was in the house. They knew about him. Panic surged through Romain. His body reacted on its own. His breathing grew heavy, laughter spilling from his lips in unnatural bursts. His limbs twisted, his body convulsed. He dropped to the floor, biting his own arm, licking the ground, crawling backward like something was taking over him. The commandos wasted no time. They seized him. Meanwhile, Anna tried calling Romain. Someone answered, but it wasn't him. It was them. Thinking she was still speaking to Romain, she mentioned the boy he attacked earlier. His neck had been broken. The force behind Romain's hit had been too strong. The voice on the other end paused before asking where she was going. Unaware of the danger, Anna told them and got into a taxi. But something inside her was changing. As the car moved, her body started reacting the same way Romain's had. Her neck twitched. Her fingers trembled. Her head jerked unnaturally. Something was happening to her. And it was only getting worse. Anna received a call from Julia, who sounded distressed. She tried to explain that something strange was happening to her, but before she could say more, the call ended abruptly. Meanwhile, Anna noticed that a group of commandos was following her. The taxi driver, unaware of the danger, stepped out to confront them, but they shot him on the spot. Terrified, Anna took control of the taxi and sped away. However, after driving for a while, she suddenly stopped in the middle of the road and stepped out, walking strangely as if she had lost control of her body. The commandos chased after her and opened fire, but despite being shot multiple times, she kept running without slowing down. Eventually, she reached a crowded club and rushed inside, pleading for help. She told the people to call the police before running into the washroom. Looking at herself in the mirror, she saw that her injuries were severe, but something felt off. Her body didn't seem normal anymore. Before she could process it, she received another call. It was Julia, telling her to meet at the station with a bike ready to escape. However, before she could leave, the commandos stormed the club and started shooting people. Anna had no choice but to jump out of a window and make her way toward the station. As she ran, something inside her changed. Her behavior became erratic. Without thinking, she attacked a girl in the street, beat her, and smeared her blood onto her before moving on. Seeing a boy with a bicycle, she forcibly took it from him. When he resisted, she killed him and threw his body into a nearby pool. Just before leaving, she muttered that she didn't do it intentionally. Something was making her act this way. By now, sirens were blaring throughout the city. The chaos was spreading fast. Anna reached her friend and sat on the bike, but she suddenly grabbed her and smeared her blood on her as well. Realizing something was wrong, Julia panicked and pushed Anna away. That's when she noticed Anna's strange movements. Her posture was unnatural, her eyes had a disturbing glow, and her entire demeanor had shifted. Frightened, Julia ran. Just then, Julia received a call from her mother. She was panicking, saying something was wrong in the city. People were acting strangely, and she was stuck in one place because her wheelchair wasn't moving. Hearing this, she immediately runs to save her mother. But before she can reach her, Anna starts chasing her at an inhuman speed, almost as fast as a bike. This was beyond terrifying. Julia manages to reach her apartment building and rushes inside, taking the lift. But in the middle of her ascent, the lift suddenly stops. Fear grips her as she stands frozen in the dimly lit space. Then, outside, she hears something chilling, Anna's voice, mixed with the horrifying sounds of people screaming and crying. Anna was attacking and devouring the people in the building. Among the chaos, a commando's voice cuts through, announcing that a virus has spread throughout the city. He warns that anyone not yet exposed still has a chance to be saved. The lift suddenly resumes and she reaches her floor. But as she steps into her home, she is met with a horrifying sight. Anna is crouched over her mother, eating her, tearing into her head. Paralyzed by shock, she watches for a moment before sheer terror takes over, and she turns to flee. Just then, a masked commando appears, stopping her. He inspects her eyes carefully, checking for any signs of infection. She appears to be safe, for now. The commando then removes her mask, revealing that she is a woman. She tells her to stay put before heading off to deal with Anna. Anna lunges at the commando, but she doesn't hesitate. She fires multiple shots into Anna's head, obliterating it completely. However, as Anna's blood splatters onto the commando's exposed skin, she realizes she has been infected too. This confirms a terrifying truth. Any direct contact with the blood of an infected person spreads the virus instantly. The transformation is rapid, turning the host into an uncontrollable predator. Knowing she doesn't have much time, the commando warns Julia that if she hasn't made direct contact with an infected person, she might still be safe. But we, as the audience, know the truth. She had been with Romain, and his blood had mixed with hers. The infection was already inside her, even if she didn't realize it yet. Before leaving, the commando gives her a gun and advises her to stay in the dark since the infected are drawn to light. Then, with her last moment of control, she turns the gun on herself and pulls the trigger, ending her life before the virus can consume her completely. Now, it all makes sense. The commandos weren't just killing infected individuals. They were trying to contain the virus before it spread too far. But it was already too late. The city was in ruins and chaos had taken over. Julia begins to change. Her laughter turns strange, almost maniacal. The infection is taking hold, just as it did with the others. Meanwhile, outside, the city descends further into destruction. At this point, the horrifying truth is revealed. The girl from the lab, the test subject known as C-39, was the origin of this outbreak. She had infected Romain first, smearing her blood on him. From there, Romain unknowingly spread the infection to others, and soon, the entire city was caught in the unstoppable chain reaction. The commandos had conducted this experiment under government orders, hoping to create super soldiers with enhanced speed and power. But the results had spiraled out of control. Instead of creating unstoppable warriors, they had unleashed something far worse, monsters driven by an insatiable hunger for flesh. Now, with the virus spreading like wildfire, one question remains. Can the commandos still find a way to stop this nightmare? Or has humanity already lost? What do you think? Share your thoughts below. The film ends here.